Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to all the nominees. Thanks for being here. Judge Wise, let me just start with you. So as I understand it, you don't think that there really is any clear-cut distinction between male and female as biological categories. Is that correct?
That is not correct.
That's what you wrote.
Sorry, that is not correct.
Well, that's what you wrote. Look, I'm reading your article, your Time Magazine article. Just to be clear, you wrote this while you were a sitting judge, 2017? You were on the bench?
That is correct, after a case I had.
Right. So, interesting choice to be writing opinion pieces about your cases, but in any event, you say that controversial pieces of legislation enacted in the last 2 decades rely on a clear-cut interpretation of sex, what I just asked you, but you say that that's wrong. In fact, gender is an intricate continuum and not 2 tidy boxes. That's what you say. So have you changed your opinion? You just gave me a different answer.
I believe that generally speaking, there are 2 sexes, male and female, that are designated by a doctor at birth, and that applies to the vast majority of people.
But that laws that are based on that distinction are impermissible. That's what you say in this article. Is that correct? That's still your view?
That is not what I say.
Really? You say that if there is, for instance, a law that requires a distinction between male and female in bathrooms, that the judges cannot apply that law with any consistency, can't apply it consistent with equal protection. There are no, what is it? It's virtually impossible for judges to consistently apply a law that permits or prohibits conduct based on whether someone is a man or a woman. So all bathroom laws that require biological sex, that designate bathrooms based on biological sex, are impermissible?
That is not the position that I took in the article.
That's what it says. It's impossible for judges to consistently apply a law that permits or prohibits conduct based on whether someone is a man or a woman. And you specifically cite bathroom laws as an example of this. In fact, you criticize the then Trump administration's designation of gender-based bathrooms. Right? Sounds like you've made up your mind on a lot of things, but I just want to get clear on this because this is an important issue, certainly to people in my state.
It's a very important issue.
You think that bathroom designation, same with locker rooms, I guess, girls' locker rooms impermissible? Biological men have to be permitted into girls' locker rooms?
That is absolutely not what I said in my
That is
article.
absolutely the import and the takeaway of your piece. You suggest at least 3 different constitutional problems with any gender-based laws, including specifically bathroom laws. You write about it. Equal protection violation, due process, void for vagueness. I was making a list as I was reading through. You say that our biological variability means that a 2-bathroom, even 2-sex-based approach is inadequate. Judges cannot apply it. So if Title IX is interpreted to protect women's sports, biological women playing sports with other biological women, it's unconstitutional?
Senator.
That's a yes or no?
I was referring to the 5 babies born a day that doctors have challenges.
No, you wrote an article that is extremely broad that pronounces on a range of issues and pronounces quite definitively. What's this comment at the end of your article about the fact that judges must see the world through a secular lens, and when legislators blur the lines of church and state to enact laws that permit or prohibit conduct based on biological gender as only male or female, they place an impossible burden on the judiciary? What's that mean? That distinctions between male and female are a violation of church and state?
Judges have to be able to administer these laws if the direction, and I have to tell you, I work really hard to get it right, to do exactly what Congress tells me to do and the legislature tells me to do. And as a result, if a doctor finds it difficult to identify at the moment of birth for certain children.
Is a law that distinguishes between male and female a violation of church and state? You say when legislators blur the lines of church and state and enact laws that permit or prohibit conduct based on biological gender as only male and female, they place an impossible burden on the judiciary. So this is a First Amendment violation?
If what you are telling judges is that in order
I'm
to
not
make,
telling you anything. I'm reading you your comments, and I am asking you if you are still committed to these, and it sounds like you are. I have to tell you, I think these positions are insane. I think the idea that laws based on the distinction between male and female are a violation of church and state is insane. Totally insane. I think the idea that laws that would say women's locker rooms are protected from biological men, that those are impermissible, that's insane. But that's what you say in this article. You're going to have to recuse yourself in a lot of cases, aren't you? Will you recuse in every case involving biological sex if you are confirmed?
Senator, respectfully, that is not what the article says.
You have pronounced on all of these issues. Will you recuse yourself in any case involving Title IX, biological sex, challenges to locker rooms, girls' sports, bathroom bills? All of those things are covered in this article that you wrote while you were a sitting judge. Don't you think that was impermissible? Will you recuse? Let's get an answer to that.
Senator, your time is expired.
Will you recuse?
I did not take a position as to those issues that you have raised.
You took a position on all of these things, and your position is insane. Totally insane. I will absolutely not vote for you. There's not a world in which I could support you. I can't believe you have been nominated. And if you are confirmed, which I hope will not happen, you absolutely must recuse across all of these cases or stand in violation of the Code of Judicial Conduct. I'm shocked you're sitting here today.
Judge Weiss, you were unable to complete several answers. I'll give you that opportunity now.
Thank you. The thesis of the article, which begins right after the introductory material, that is the first sentence of the third paragraph, makes it absolutely clear that my article had nothing to do with people who are transgendered or gay. It dealt with a narrow issue about babies who are born where doctors are challenged making a determination about sex. And as a sitting judge who has to administer potentially laws where I would have to make such a determination that doctors sometimes find it difficult to do, I think it is critically important. It's important under the Constitution. It's an obligation that we have to treat everyone to have equal protection under law. It is the words that is listed above the entrance to the United States Supreme Court. I actually believe that everybody who is in here cares about all newborn babies and what the circumstances are for all of them. And for those children who eventually become adults, I believe that the legislatures and Congress need to help judges and give a clear indication about what to do in those limited instances. And that is all.
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Wise, you're not being honest with us, are you?
That is incorrect.
Well, we all may be poorer under President Biden, but we're not stupid. We have a long list of your articles and your opinions and your political statements. On March 8, 2017, you wrote an article for Time magazine while you were a sitting judge. It's entitled, Judge, Gender Laws Are at Odds with Science. I'm going to quote your words. When legislators blur the lines of church and state and enact laws that permit or prohibit conduct based on biological gender as only male or female, they place an impossible burden on the judiciary. End quote. Did I read that accurately?
I do not know because I don't have the article in front of me.
Well, I do. You also said in that article, quote, your words, not mine, sex has countless natural permutations, end quote. Did I read that correctly?
I believe that is consistent with medical science and under the Daubert standard, the science that comes in as expert testimony in trials.
On October 13, 2020, while you were serving as a state judge, you wrote an article for The Atlantic entitled, quote, your words, not mine, America's judiciary doesn't look like America. And you criticized this committee and President Trump for his judicial nominees. You said, quote, these are your words, not mine. The judiciary crafted over the past 4 years does not look like America. Not one of these judges is black, and more than 90% were raised or currently identify as Christians. I don't know how you knew that. And then you say, quote, your words, not mine. Identity is the lens that filters everything and everyone we encounter, end quote. Did I read that correctly?
Again, I don't know because I don't have the article in front of me.
I got it right here. You wrote another article on July 31, 2020 for the San Francisco Daily Journal, in which you advocate for the right of sitting judges to be able to go to protests, didn't you?
That is incorrect.
No, it's not. I'm looking at it right here. This is what you say. No judge should be ethical. Your words, not mine. You just said you didn't say them. You turned these articles over. No judge should be ethically constrained from speaking or taking action that reinforces that constitutional and moral imperative. May judges participate in demonstrations that denounce racism, support equal justice, and reinforce our constitutional rights to free speech and peaceable assembly? Yes. End quote. Did I read that correctly?
I don't know because I don't have the article in front of me.
If you're a federal judge, are you going to go to protests?
I would like to answer the substance of the underlying question that was asked.
I'd like you to answer my question. I've only got another minute or so. If you're a federal, let me put it another way. Have you ever gone to a protest, a public protest, while you're a sitting judge?
Senator Kennedy, the article that you are referring to
Have you ever
was
gone to a
written-
protest while you're a sitting judge?
I do not believe that I have ever attended a protest as a sitting judge, or perhaps ever in my life.
And you talk about Girls Inc. You say you've never heard of them. You were on the, or you don't know that much about them. You were on the board from 2014 to 2024. You're still on their board, aren't you?
I'm not. My term expired this last month.
And you've given them over $50,000, haven't you?
I do not believe that is correct.
That's what your report says. And this is the same Girls Inc. that says, quote, on its website, here's how they define girls. Quote, girls refers to gender-expansive youth, cis girls, trans girls, non-binary youth, gender and non-conforming youth, genderqueer youth, and any girl-identified youth. Did I read that correctly?
I don't know. I've never heard of that policy or that definition
You
from
never heard
Girls
of it.
Inc.
Listen, in spite of your, can I just have 30 more seconds? In spite of your strongly held political beliefs, and we've got all of them, all your articles, they're as long as King Kong's are you telling us today, do you believe that you will not allow your strongly held political beliefs to influence your judicial opinions? Do you believe that?
The best evidence of the type of federal judge I will be,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
type of
Do you
judge,
believe that? Do you believe that?
is the type of judge I have been for 10 years, who is one who always puts the law above my personal
Do you
views.
also believe in Bigfoot? Do you believe in the tooth fairy?
Your time has expired, Senator.
Do you believe Jimmy Hoffa died of natural causes?
Senator Hirono.
Your writings have been brought up by Senator Durbin. How long have you been a judge in California?
10 years.
10 years, okay. So in 2017, you were a sitting judge, is that correct?
That is correct.
You wrote an article for Time magazine entitled, "Gender Laws Are at Odds with Science." You said it's virtually impossible for judges to consistently apply a law that permits or prohibits conduct based on whether someone is a man or a woman. You also said the stringent adherence to a two-sex paradigm is inconsistent with science, incongruous with the historic and modern understanding of sex throughout many regions of the world. You said our biological variability means that a two-bathroom based on two-sex approach is inadequate, and that's before the judge ever gets to the issue of gender identity. Why did you write that article?
I wrote that article in response to a specific case that I had in front of me as a judge. And I wrote it to address a narrow but important issue, which is that there are a
Do you
number...
normally write articles about cases in front of you? Is that a standard thing that people in your business do? I mean, I've never heard of anybody doing that.
I think it is somewhat common for judges to write articles, including...
For a judge to write an article for Time magazine?
I think it is common for judges to publish, including law review articles and other forms of articles.
Okay. Well, you know, what are you trying to tell us in this article?
I wanted to point out that there is an anomaly that occurs at birth with babies. It happens about 1 in every 2,000 children that are born have fairly serious chromosomal or abnormalities. That's about 5 babies born a day in the United States, and 1 in 20,000 have very serious chromosomal abnormalities that make it very difficult, if not impossible, for doctors at the moment of birth to be able to designate the sex as male or female.
Okay.
And that is the very specific and narrow issue I was addressing.
Thank you. What are you trying to tell us when you say that a two-bathroom based on two-sex approach is inadequate?
For me, because I had the parents of one of those babies come in to try to get a birth certificate changed after some additional scientific testing was done, and the parents were very concerned and wanted to be able to have the birth certificate comport with the best information the doctor could give them at the time, something that was deeply personal, I think, and private to those parents. I realized this was something I knew nothing about.
Were you writing as an advocate?
Absolutely not.
Sounds like it. You wrote an article in The Atlantic basically saying, I think it was The Atlantic, basically saying that the Trump appointees, judicial appointees, don't look like America. Did you write that while you were a sitting judge?
I did write that article while I was the sitting judge.
And you said President Trump's appointments reflects an unapologetic preference for the homogeneity of what many Americans hope was a bygone era. What were you trying to tell us?
I was trying to enforce in that article something that I think is deeply important to the judiciary.
Were you making a political statement?
Absolutely not.
Oh, come on.
I was not.
Wait a minute. You're criticizing the president's judicial picks is not looking like America, taking us to a bygone era, and you don't think that's a political statement?
I actually think that it is a
Why did you feel compelled to write that?
I believe that diversity of all forms,
I
including
believe
racial...
you're a zealous advocate who wants to be a judge and an advocate all at the same time. These articles are not just some poetry written when you're in grammar school. They show a desire for you to tell the world how you feel about issues before our country, and you ought to get into politics, not be promoted as a judge. Thank you.
Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Wise, why don't we start with you? Until earlier this year, you served on the board of the Alameda County chapter of Girls, Inc. Now, this is an organization that seems to do some good things, helping disadvantaged girls, but is one that's also taken some radical positions on sex, on gender. Girls, Inc.'s definition of gender states that, quote, a girl is a young person who identifies as a girl, regardless of her assigned sex at birth, or who identifies as a girl while exploring gender identity or expression, close quote. Do you agree with this definition?
Good morning, Senator Lee. First, I will say that I believe what you're reading from is a policy regarding Girls Inc. National, which I think might be out of New York. My only role has been in the limited capacity in Alameda County, where I am. I have no familiarity with the remarks that you made. I'm not familiar with those comments.
You agree with them?
I mean, what I know of Girls, Inc. is that it focuses on girls in our community, primarily starting at kindergarten for literacy.
Do you share the view expressed in the statement?
I don't have any opinion about those particular remarks from Girls, Inc. National.
We've heard from many women, many of whom are sexual assault survivors, parents of girls, about the physical and psychological risks of being forced to share bathrooms, locker rooms, other facilities with biological males. Mm-hmm. Now, this concern is far from being just hypothetical. It's not one that's just being dreamed up. In Loudoun County, Virginia, just a few miles from here, a 15-year-old boy wearing a skirt and claiming to be a transgender girl was convicted of sexually assaulting two girls in girls' bathrooms at school at two different high schools. Now, the schools allowed him to be in the girls' bathroom because of the same bathroom policy that, from what I can tell, you seem to have advocated for. Now, have you considered how your advocacy and the positions you've taken on this front might adversely affect girls?
First of all, I will say I think there might be some confusion about the article that I wrote. The article that I wrote took no position about who should be able to use a bathroom. Everyone should be safe, including girls and women in all bathrooms, in locker rooms, everywhere. All of us should be safe. I care very much about the rule of law. I wrote nothing about people who are gay or straight or transgendered at all. My article had nothing to do with that.
Well, here's one of the things you say in that article. This is going back to the Time magazine article. Quote, if modern science recognizes that sex has countless natural permutations, and if birth certificates, physical observation, and even chromosomal testing cannot reliably categorize every individual as either male or female, then our judiciary cannot be required to make gender findings antithetical to that reality. Could that not be extended to cover the kind of situation I described in Loudoun County? In other words, if you've got a bathroom policy that says that if you are a biological male and have been identified as such because you have male characteristics, you may not use a female bathroom.
I'm not sure if you were here a moment ago when I was speaking to this issue. My very limited concern were about children at the moment of birth who a doctor cannot properly assign as male or female.
I understand that, but I think you would agree the quote I just read to you goes well beyond that. And so it's one thing to make the statement, as you were suggesting a moment ago, one that might apply in one out of 120,000 cases where you've got a very rare genetic abnormality or something like that, Klinefelter syndrome or something of the like. But the statement I just read is much broader than that, is it not?
So the statistics I am familiar with the World Health Organization indicates that it's approximately 1 in 2,000, 1 in 20,000 that are serious. That is a baby born every other day. I think that
the 1 in 2,000 figure is based on much different criteria, and it's not actually intersex positions. We're running out of time.